actually the true reason why you are.
Pretty much. And it's more so the ego side.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And that's where our most drive is.
Yeah.
So, and the easiest way I'll explain it on here too, but it's just like if you're hungry and your stomach's not getting fed or your body's not getting fed, it'll rumble.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, hello, we're not being fed. So shadow values do that. If they're not getting fed, if they're not, or they feel like they're going to lose the food, what you've been feeding it, they're going to rumble in ways of like massive frustration, outbursts or anger or all of that sort of stuff. That's basically shadow values rumbling, saying, hang on, our needs aren't being met.
Hey guys, it's Julian here. I've got the absolute pleasure to bring Jess Cameron, a really good friend of mine. She's a mindset coach, transformational leadership coach, and an absolute gun when it comes to human behaviour. Hope you get a lot out of it and see you on the other side. Alright, what's up? Like, what is your background? What have you done? Why are you here? What do you do?
It's such a hard question to answer because I don't have a set background.
Okay.
I hate when people ask me this. I'm like,
how did you get into this transformational coaching or leadership coaching or people?
No one knows what I do. How do you do you?
So what do you actually do? Well.
Let me get there. So basically, I think like anybody does, you do normal jobs. So obviously I graduated school. I wanted to go take a gap year for a year and go off and travel and all that sort of stuff. But I think when I was younger, people always used to say, oh, your talent is talking. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, awesome. Like I'm also great at breathing, you know, like, or eating. What sort of skill is that? And I didn't realize until later on in life that every job that I had, very random, totally irrelated jobs. But that always seemed to come out. People always like, you're so good with people. You're so good with communicating. Like,
do you think that's a natural thing, or do you think it gets developed, obviously, but is there a natural cause that makes people become better with people, or is it?
I think most people that are very good at it are naturally gifted at it. But that doesn't mean people can't. It's just a skill set. It's just we're not naturally gifted as a person. That's what comes those skill sets is what comes naturally to us.
You can't naturally drive a car, right?
So like maths doesn't naturally come to me. If I worked my butt off, then maybe I could learn.
It'd be better.
But I just don't enjoy maths. So I think some people go, oh, I'm just not a people person, and kind of throw their hands up in the air. It's just like, well, if you want that, it is like any other skill. Of course you can learn it. You just got to know the skill that goes with it, you know? So in leadership, a lot of people don't realise, but one of the number one skills of leadership is empathy. And a lot of men might be like, empathy, because it sounds like a real cushy word, you know.
You're trying to put that back on me. What are you trying to say here, Jess?
Because I saw you just go,
There's my shadow value in that one. Everything makes you weak now.
But empathy is nothing more than being able to listen to somebody and put yourselves in their shoe. That is one of the most difficult skills to develop, and why it's so vital to leadership. You can't lead somebody if you're trying to push them. You know, they want to have to follow you. That's the very definition of leadership. And no one wants to follow you unless they know that you actually care about their interests.
So what do you, obviously you work with various businesses, what do you see common traits as bad leaders and good leaders? Because there's a difference, right? Because the whole society's got rid of these words of bad and good, and everyone's got participation awards, which is awesome. Different story. Throw that one in there.
No, I do not compete to get a participation award.
I would not do that.
I would not first place.
And I think if you ask anyone that's successful, they would say exactly the same thing. Anyone that's unsuccessful, I'd like to, of course, that's why you're there. But you know, what would be a couple of traits you see that of really good leaders? Obviously, empathy being one of them, and ones that probably need a bit of work.
A bit of fine tuning. So that one's really easy to identify as well. And I think clear is the definition between management and leadership. And I think so many people, they are really gifted and really good at things, which is why they become successful in the first place. And now they're responsible for like building a business, and they need a team of people around them. Usually what got them to the success in the first place was on their own merit, their own grit, their own, motivation, all of that sort of stuff. They drove themselves to get there. But now to grow, they need people. And that's often really difficult for a management mindset, because it's, okay, cool, now I need to tell everybody what to do.
And delegation is different to telling you what to do. Right?
Exactly. You know, delegation, and this is a trait of a good leader, is being able to see that person is better than me at this.
Yeah.
That's why I hire them.
Yeah.
This is where I'm weak. I'm weak with maybe people skills, so I need somebody that's amazing at it. I need to go out and hire them. You know, it's hiring and recruiting your weaknesses.
Yeah.
And then delegating the roles to them, but leaving them to it.
Yeah.
You can't ask genius of people. You can't say, give me your best. You know, it's like you have to say, this is what I need, and let them give you their best. Let them flourish. That's their area of expertise.
Yeah.
It's not not saying you, but for a manager, it's not your area of expertise. That's why you hired them.
Yeah.
So let them go.
So that ego would kick in, and that's on the path.
Yeah. Well, that's a hard thing because some managers have a lot of ego. It is that control. They don't want to get their finger out of all the pies. They don't want somebody else to ruin all their hard work.
Yeah.
Basically,
which is understandable.
It makes sense.
But it's unsustainable in that
way.
In regards to growth. So from moving from management to leadership, what needs to change? Obviously, mentality shift.
Yeah.
What else?
So management is all about telling people what to do.
Yeah.
Leadership is all about giving people their opportunity to excel in their expertise.
Management is still leadership, but it's an authoritarian leadership, which you only listen because he's your boss or she's your boss.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you actually want to really follow.
Exactly.
And you want to keep your job, that's why you do it. So there's a bit of consequence if you don't, right?
And that's what Simon Sinek says. You know, he's an expert on leadership, but he talks about, you know, you can be in a position of authority, but nobody wants to follow you. They'll do you. They'll listen.
They'll do your job.
They'll listen to you because they're scared of you,
Yeah.
or because you're paying their paycheck or whatever that may be. But they're not going to follow you. They're not going to go above and beyond. You know, like you can't pay if you pay somebody really little, then they're going to do that job. They're going to work as hard as you're paying them.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But then also, just because you pay them more doesn't mean you get more either.
Exactly.
Which I think is comes down to
you recruited the wrong person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that the shift mentality-wise from moving into that leadership is like, I'll pay you for a job. And that's old school, man. Like, I know I talk to business owners that are still exactly the same. I'm like, yeah, but I pay them a job. Yeah, but they don't care.
Yeah.
You can pay them even 50 grand more, but if they don't like you or they're not going to do exactly what you'd like. So
exactly.
And then also the reason why they're probably in that situation is because they probably went above and beyond, but not everyone's like that either. So
yeah.
So what?
Or they went above and beyond and it was taken advantage of, or it wasn't. That gratitude wasn't expressed in a way that they would have liked. The gratitude expressed. But you hit a key point there when you're just like, it's not. They don't like you. They're not going to give you their blood, sweat and tears because they don't like you. And I think fleshing that out a little bit more is, why do we like anybody?
Yeah.
We like them purely because we think that they have our best intentions at heart.
That's right. Yeah.
And so that is, by definition, I would say, is the characteristic of a leader. A leader is somebody that actually truly has the best interests of anybody they're trying to lead at heart. Like, they will sacrifice for them.
Yeah.
And a manager A manager will sacrifice the people to get the results they want, whereas a leader will sacrifice their own perks, their own money, whatever it may be, to keep the people safe.
Yeah.
And that understands that the people is what makes up the business.
Yeah.
And that's really stark contrast between a manager and a leader. And when people feel truly cared for, like they're going to be safe, no matter what happens, you are going to do what's best for them.
Yeah.
That's when they like you. They might not like your personality,
but
they will be fiercely loyal to you because they're like, they got my back.
Yeah. My example that I got running through my head is the army. If you had managers in the army, what do you reckon?
Get
You're all dead.
No, you'd be out in like no man's land. People would be like, later.
You'd probably shoot the manager first.
It was friendly fire.
Whoops, in 4 in the back.
Exactly.
He committed suicide. 7 shots in the back of the head. That's pretty good.
But it's true, and it makes so much sense in other areas. It's the same with sports. Any sort of area where there's not a manager, but there's a coach or there's a captain. They are only successful when they show that they have your best interests at heart.
Well, Jack Daly says most sports teams are run better than businesses. They're more organised. They've got SOPs and frequently asked questions and playbook. As businesses are just what I would call hopium, bad strategy for a business. Hope tomorrow's going to be better.
Hopium,
It's different than faith, right? So for yourself, obviously moving into the values, because everyone's talking about values and the mission of the business and the vision. So what would be some values that like you would touch on before with the shadow values, that we would think it's this, but it's actually that.
Right, so with shadow values. So shadow values is a concept coined by Benjamin J. Franklin. Not me, but it's something that I absolutely love. You know, it really resonates with me.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And it makes sense when you think, oh, I thought that I really valued that, yet why can't I seem to do it? You know, so it's like a prime example is growing a business. Of course I value growing my business and I want to grow my business, and that's going to give me financial freedom and all of these sorts of things. But if you have, let's say, one of your real, actual, true values is control, it's going to be very difficult for you to grow a business if you
can't
perceive
relinquish that.
Exactly, and that's where you get micromanagers and people that just can't let people be.
And this is going further than limiting beliefs and blockages. This is that's different again.
Yeah, so do you want me to explain it, flesh it out a little bit? So it's shadow values is basically what Benjamin J. Franklin says is the opposite to golden values. That's what he calls them, golden values, shadow values, and basically it's golden values are our fluffy things like love and respect and friendship, everything. When someone's like, what do you value when you write down all these nice fluffy things?
Yeah.
Because we like to look at ourselves in the most positive light.
Yeah. And
usually the things that we might actually enjoy, but society has said they're not good to enjoy in some way. So like back to control. Oh, you're a control freak. Yeah. You know, or attention. Oh, you're such an attention seeker. All of those sorts of things is our culture says they're bad. So if that's actually quite, you grow up being quite a bossy boots or quite a controlling person, you actually try to hide those.
So you replace it with something else.
Yeah. So you might say, I really love freedom. I just want freedom. I value freedom so much. But really...
Don't set up a business. I want to take... This is what I got told at school, right?
Yeah.
You run a business, and this is from, obviously, employees. So you run a business, you can take holidays. This is literally what I got told at school. You can take holidays whenever you want. You're your own boss. So I was like, that sounds pretty good. That's not... Who's giving that job advice?
When you're older, yeah.
That's the hope, right? But there's about 30 years before that. Yeah. It depends on what type of business. So what would be, is there like, obviously when you got Tony Robbins, you got the certainty, uncertainty, significance, love and connection, which
human
is
needs,
the primary needs.
Basic human needs,
and then you got contribution and growth, which is your secondaries. Is there a set group of... Yeah.
So what, once again, what Ben says is, I just call him Benjamin J. Franklin. It's Benjamin J. Harvey. It's not the American president. Like
Benjamin
Franklin, I mixed Harvey and Franklin together. Anyway, Benjamin J. Harvey is his name. Sorry.
It's like the guy that invented electricity. Was that the other one?
Thomas Edison. We're both of you. Oh my goodness.
The guy on the $100 bill. No. Oh, okay.
You're just trying to be so smart. Okay, whatever.
Wasn't Benjamin J. Franklin the guy that had the lightning on the key and the kite, wasn't it?
I don't know.
So we
and
might
I'm not even
going
to assume anymore because now I'm going to look stupid.
I'll look at
Ben Harvey, let's say, he kind of puts it down into 7 main categories. I mean, obviously there can totally be more. But he puts it down into 7 main categories, and that's what you're talking about, what Tony Robbins does, where it's significance and certainty and all of that.
Yeah.
So Ben Harvey says that there is, so we've got sexuality, we've got money, we've got control, we've got belonging, we've got attention, we've got validation, we've got superiority.
So that's all socially unacceptable things.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, you think about, superiority.
Sex gets squashed. Money, don't talk about money. There's a taboo. Like, if you ask my grandfather, money is like,
money's
whoa.
The devil, money's the root of all evil. Yeah, it is. Control freaks, attention seekers, superiority, I'm going to be Mr. Right or Mrs. Right all the time, like, validation, all of these things we kind of look down on. And it's funny because when I do this exercise with people, you can almost see them cringe when you say the one that they are. Like, I've had people like squirming in their chair and going red in the face because they've worked so hard for that not to be part of it, not to be in need of them, and not a need of theirs, So it's like, no, I try so hard to fade into the background and not to get attention when really all they want is attention. So is
that, I mean, obviously you don't want to bring that out into people because you don't want someone But you want to be authentic too, right?
Yes.
So what would be the balance there?
Because the key is balance, obviously, and the key is being able to understand all of you, because that shadow side of us, just like the yin and yang, when there's light and there's dark, that makes a whole. Opposition makes a whole. We do have good qualities about us, and we do have bad qualities about us. We do have good values, and we also maybe have negative values. But if we can get rid of that, it's so negative. The value itself is not negative. Attention is not negative. It's how you try to get it. It's how you try to feed it. And the problem is often when we're young, we find and develop quick, easy ways to get attention. And that's where we're like, oh, that gave me that really quickly, so we just keep repeating the process. So it's
like when a person goes from relationship to relationship to relationship, looking for that validation or looking for that connection, it's probably obviously trying to fill a void that's not being filled just yet.
And they feel like that's an easy way to get it. That's an easy way to get it.
And they do get it.
Temporary fixes, called false fixes.
Where
we temporary, it's like any sort of addiction. You can be addicted to these things. You can be addicted to control. You can be addicted to validation. And you cannot be happy unless you fill those voids, and so it is about kind of acknowledging that they're there, acknowledging what they are, getting rid of the guilt and shame about them as well, and being like, true, because put me in any situation where I get to control the situation, I will gravitate to that situation. I will want to be in that situation. I'll find any way to get into a situation of control. We naturally, subconsciously more so, move towards things that are going to feed our true values. So if we don't understand them, we don't know why we're subconsciously moving towards or away from things. We don't get it. We're just like, I just can't seem to get myself to do it. And it's in sales. It's especially in the sales industry, a lot of people assume sales is all about money, and for some people they might be driven by money. But some people, it's all about recognition.
That's right.
Or validation. So they could be making bucket loads of money, but if they're not getting the validation and the recognition, they're like, I'm miserable, I'm unhappy.
Maybe I need to get more money. But it's not,
And they don't get it because no one talks about these kind of, actually, no, what do you truly value?
And to get rid of the good and bad, right? Because that has emotion to it. So, this must be bad. It just is. But then you can move forward from that. Because what I find is that when people are doing, goals or working out where their life is with what I call the circle of self-actualization, is people, my money is less, so that's a bad thing. No, it just is. My career is not where it needs to be. Well, that's bad. Well, it just is. It's just not good and bad. That's where it is. You're not getting something out of that career. You're not getting personal growth out of that career. So how do you get that and then move forward from that? So is this the same thing?
Yeah, exactly. So it's about knowing, oh, cool, that's what I need, or that's why I keep doing these things. That's why I keep sabotaging all of these situations. That's why I keep sabotaging my growth as a business, because I can't let go of control. And the strategy that Ben Harvey suggests, obviously, is being able to use them. So identifying that they're there, but then being able to use them in the sense that, once again, it's changing that meaning. So instead of thinking growing my business is going to make me lose control, because I'm going to have all of these managers that are in charge of all of this sort of stuff, it's how can growing my business give me more control? Changing the question, because you've got to get that in there, in the mind, that actually growing gives me so much more control. I can control this, I can control this. And when you actually feel that, you will naturally excel. You'll just move towards it rather than continuing to stifle your own progression. Purely because that shadow value is like, hang on, no. Like, don't forget about us. We need to be fed.
Or else they'll find an unresourceful way of doing it as well. It's like when kids are looking for significance and they play up. You mean? If they're not trying to be naughty, but when they're naughty and you pay attention to them, then they get what they want. It's unresourceful, but that's what they get.
It's that, and that's the negative ways of feeding what we need and all of that. So it's a matter of kind of just being like, what are our needs and what are our real values? How am I feeding them? Is it not positive? Can I change that mindset and realize how doing it can give me more validation or more superiority and all of that.
So what would be the opposite? So you got control. What's the opposite of control?
It'd probably look like freedom. A lot of people that really value freedom financial freedom to, travel whenever they want in work and all of that sort of stuff, usually are control freaks. They try and control everything in their life so that they can get freedom.
Yeah.
So it's good if you look at it like a coin. There's heads and tails. There's two sides of the coin. Yeah. So it's even, I know people with service. Service is an easy one. Like, I really love to do things for other people. I'm just constantly sacrificing myself to do stuff for other people. But you can recognize when there's another value there. If somebody that you're serving is not giving you attention or giving you validation or belonging, whatever it is that you're seeking from it, if they're not feeding that another value, you're just like, I don't want to serve them anymore. Like, they just take advantage of me. And so the value isn't purely to serve others. The value is also to gain something. And that's a method you've found to get it. Like, the more nice I am, I value being nice and being kind. The more nice and kind I am, the more friends I will have. So it's all, it makes us sound horrible, like we're always doing stuff for ourselves, but essentially we are.
Of course.
Essentially we are.
In regards to survival, it's you first, right?
Yeah.
Like, if we're out in the middle of the desert and there's no food and it's you or me, naturally...
Are you going to eat me, Julian?
There's not much
I'll run faster.
Yeah, right. There's more meat to fade away. So, but naturally you're going to go, okay, cool. It's naturally, for us to keep ourselves self-preservation, that we would be, okay, cool, there's one lizard who eats it. Well, I want to be eaten first. That's normal.
Exactly. And it is, like, that's our natural...
May not be in the nice, humane way, like, socially acceptable, but...
You can have a leg. It is.
Split the tail in half.
It is. It's our survival instinct, and that's innate in every single one of us. What's unique to us as human beings is that we can look at that instinct and say, hang on, like, maybe here... Because imagine then if it was you and your daughter and the lizard.
Yeah.
That is when you could consciously say, no, screw self-preservation. And I'm going to save my daughter.
It changes a lot when you have kids.
But it is, the more you can develop even that love for other people, the more that self-preservation you can actually start disputing, and you can be like, do you know what?
Hopefully we're never in that situation, Jess.
No, never try and eat me. Never try and eat me. There goes our friendship.
I don't like saying the biggest problem, because I say it a lot, but I think one of the biggest situations or situational conditions that we put ourselves into in today's society is a lack of awareness. So everything's too busy, distractions everywhere, Facebook, Instagram, everything is on here. The problem is that there's no downtime to actually think. I think the hardest thing to do in life is to think. That's what most people don't, Henry Ford said that. So what would you, obviously, going down the beach and thinking, but how would you recognize what your values are? Or is there like a system to go through? Is there a process? I'm a big process guy, so I love process.
You're a man, that's all right. We know
any
you love
numbers,
process.
this is how things work. It's very automated. That to me makes more sense. That's good. How would you find what your values are? Is there something to run through, a run sheet?
Yeah. So I think...
We'll post the link below.
It is. Just click that. I think...
She's got it on YouTube and Instagram.
The hardest thing with doing it yourself, and you can do it yourself, and a part of what you're saying too is that one of our... what is unique to the human species and why we are the dominant species is self-awareness. Is that we are able to be... you look at any sort of animals, and all they do is eat, survive, procreate, and they just go off their instincts. Whereas
snake is a perfect example. It does nothing but that.
Exactly. It's just that's its measure of its creation, Whereas human beings, we're able to be conscious of our consciousness. And we can be like, hang on, that thought's in my head. I don't agree with that thought, you know? And you can observe what your consciousness and subconscious is doing, But the hard thing with shadow values is, like I said, because we like to look at ourselves as
in the best light.
In the best light as well.
Glasses.
And even when we're trying to find, even people that are negative about themselves all the time, usually there's certain things you can be negative about, but when it comes to your shadow values, if it's something you've pushed aside for so long, it's still very hard to recognise what that is, because that's everything you don't want to be. there's a lot of shame that you have around those things, you know, or you've worked so hard not to be it or not to want it.
Yeah, you push away, so now you
that you're like, surely I'm not that. No, I'm not that, you know. So it is easy to do it with somebody else, I would say. But like I said, you can always be conscious of yourself, and you can, every time you get frustrated, you can be like, why? Why am I frustrated? What one of these? Rather
than just like, well, that's just your way. That's my favourite hated quote.
Yeah.
That's just who I am. You take it or leave it. Well, that's a good way to be shit your whole life, right? Not to grow, not to know, and still be like that in 50 years' time and wonder why nothing happened for you, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. I agree. And so I think I like to explain it this way, because it's the easiest way that we can, and it's to do with food, and I love food, you know, the easiest way that we can recognise when our shadow value is like, hang on, I'm starving, or I'm not being met, or you're going to take something away from me. Yeah. And so it's like when you're hungry and your body starts telling you, hey, we're hungry, you haven't fed us, and it rumbles. You know, your stomach rumbles. Mine is now, because I'm starving. We did this before lunch, you know, but your stomach starts rumbling, or your body can shake, or you have, you know, a reaction for your body to say, we need food.
Triggers.
Exactly. And so your shadow values work exactly the same.
Yeah.
When they feel like they're being ignored, they're not being fed, they will rumble. And the way they will rumble and make you aware that you need to do something to feed them is through extreme expressions of emotion. Frustration, anger. You ever met people driving in traffic and they just like switch, like someone cuts them off and all of a sudden it's like you've killed their dog and their family and like everybody they loved, and they just go crazy, you know? Yeah. Well, it is when you even when you think about that, when your child's crying and you just snap, you get to a point where you just snapped. Usually for some people it's like, because I can't control my child. Maybe that's why.
For me, I can't fix it.
Yeah.
I was like, what's the solution? I'm very solution focused. So it's like, how do I fix it? Oh, you can't. What do you mean you can't? I don't understand that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Everything has a solution. It's like, but you just, what is the problem?
Yeah.
You know, when they're real young, that's that, you know.
Exactly. So that's one of the ways that you can recognise it pretty quickly, is because a lot of people will be like, I'm such a chilled person, I'm so chilled and all of that. But there are certain things that will just snap. In relationships, there may be certain things that if your partner does it, it just sets you off.
Yeah.
And it can be tiny things, and you're like, why am I so angry about this? Why am I getting so frustrated?
The toilet paste to go upstairs. I didn't see it. What do you mean? You stepped over it. I didn't see that stuff. The first step's disappeared.
Selective everything. Selective hearing, selective seeing.
Yeah, why did you pick it up?
Yeah, so there's all certain things. There's just normal things that are frustrating, but usually when it's like, why am I getting so angry at this?
And the trend of the same thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Or if that situation happens, anytime it happens, you'll get set off. Yeah. Anytime. Or something that makes you really emotional or something like that. But it is, so usually when I'm going through it with people, I will try and get them to explain a situation that is, once again, this is Ben Harvey technique, but explain a situation in which they really get really frustrated. It can be a particular situation where they can run through everything.
Yeah. People not listening.
Yeah.
Ask them to do something they didn't do properly.
Yeah. And this is my point as well, is usually when you say, explain a situation that really frustrated you, people say, well, this is what they did, this is what happened, and they list out all the facts. Yeah.
Rather going, actually, wait a minute. I got them to do a job, they didn't really teach them properly, then they did it poorly, I didn't communicate what I actually wanted, the outcome wasn't met, which I get pissed off with, the outcome wasn't met, and you're like, well, you actually didn't communicate anything to them, and you gave them a job that was way too hard of their skill set, and didn't teach them anything. So
and that's the final part of the equation, when you start realising, hang on, this actually isn't quite fair, and you start disputing those thoughts, but you have the reaction, they've done something, or you can even see your fault in it as well. But what a lot of people...
That's a different level, but...
Yeah.
Because that's the non-ego side. Yeah. So normally it's covered with heaps of egos, like, it must be them. Yeah. The relationship must be her fault, must be his fault.
Yeah.
Well, what are you doing to actually create that? Because there's obviously two in every, situation.
There is. And there's that part where it's, how did it make you feel? So yes, someone lied to you. Or yes, someone didn't do what you asked them to do. but how did it make you feel? And most people sit there, it's usually men that struggle with this a lot, and they're like, pissed off.
We have two feelings.
Angry.
And pissed off.
Annoying. So it's so true.
That does sound anger. And then happy.
But it's people...
Depends on how many days.
But people don't realise, they don't go deep enough and realise why are you... Yes, you're frustrated. You know, that's the expression, that's the emotion of how you're feeling. Yeah. So how are you feeling? Yeah. So when you like dig deeper and deeper
it's
and
like
deeper...
176 emotions in the human. Something like that.
That's probably more for women. Who's to know? We make them up. But it is when someone's like, yep, that they lied to me. It made me angry. Cool, but how did it make you feel? And then the more you get down, it made me feel, and it's different for everybody. That's the cool thing about this exercise. Some people it made me feel disrespected.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
For me, it would make me feel like, oh, now you've lost my trust. Maybe you didn't care about me. You care more about yourself and protecting yourself. I'm talking about me. You're protecting yourself than me. Yeah. And all of these sorts of, which makes me think, okay, cool. Well, then you're not a really good friend. And it keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. But it is so different for everybody else that it highlights so clearly really what their value is.
It's different.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it's easy to do it with somebody else, because otherwise you kind of get stuck at the emotion, like I'm angry and frustrated because they did this.
And then you get back into it in the thoughts, and then you're stuck.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas somebody can say,
I'm reading this all over again.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's the same, like you said, you brought up relationships. Usually the people that you're meeting for the first time, or that you don't, acquaintances, and you don't spend heaps of time with them, they get your golden self. They get all of the good things about you. Exactly. Yeah. But usually
you'll know... First Sight was such a great show.
Yeah. I love trash TV. It brings me so much joy. But it is in any relationship that's ended, or in the current relationship that you're in, when maybe there's some hostility, the other person usually always says your shadow values. Yeah. You're so controlling, or you're so manipulative, or you always need my affection, or you always need me to say I love you. They usually, all those comments that we get from our partner or our ex-partner very clearly highlights our shadow values. Yeah.
And in the conversation, but I gave them everything they needed. Oh, okay. So why are they with him?
Exactly.
Why are they with her?
Yeah. So that's kind of the crux of shadow values, what they are, how you can identify and find them, and like you said, it's just about being conscious of what is going on in your mind, but also being able to understand, cool, you're lying, that's a bad thing, so rightfully I'm angry.
Yeah.
But no, how does it make you feel? The deeper you dig down into that, the easier you'll realise what your shadow values are, and then it's a matter of being able to use them.
Yeah. Do you think there's a lack of consciousness these days?
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah, there is, and which is surprising because I feel like there is more.
Yeah.
There's way more consciousness and mindfulness and all of this sort of stuff where people are trying. They're making big bucks
big money
out of trying to get people to be mindful. Yeah. But that's.
Which I guess in this society is a pretty good sales pitch.
Yeah.
It is. It's a good sell. It's a good product because everyone's closed-minded, or they believe in the wrong things or listen to the wrong things. So I was literally talking to Bertie just this morning about, literally the power of the mind. I'm not a manifestation person. I'm not a vision boards, although I'll go through that another time. But a couple of things that I really wanted to have happen this year are happening. And it wasn't because it was written down. It's just a constant thought process, that trip to New Zealand, it's like, that was on my mind a lot. I was like, how do I get there? How do I get there? How do I get there? And then boom, out of nowhere. It was definitely not expected. It wasn't kind of picturing it. It was just out of the blue. Like, wow, there you go.
You find a way. You find a way to get the things that you want, and you find a way to avoid the things that you don't want. So it is.
But it is a choice, and as I'm saying, it's an easy one. But how do you start? Because most people ask you, how do you create a stronger mentality? Well, you got to start with just start.
Well, start where you are, for one. And I think that's the problem, is people, which is what you were saying before, it's with the consciousness, are we really being conscious? It's like, okay, the world is telling me these are the qualities I need to have.
Yeah.
I need to be zen, or I need to be a yogi, or I need to be mindful, or I need to be assertive and aggressive to be successful, whatever it be. The world is telling us hey, these are all the characteristics you need to have. So rather than actually starting where you are and developing on what you have, you jump and you go, okay, let me build these and build these and build these, that you actually can very quickly ignore, hang on, Julian, this is what is unique to me. Or Jess, this is what your skill set is. You can refine, of course, and then you can start adding. But you've got to start from where you are.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to find out who you are first, rather than trying to figure out who everybody wants you to be. Yeah. And then trying to be that.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why owning all of you, fully understanding all of you, now you know, okay, this is how I can get this.
And knowing why you do certain things.
Yeah.
So in closing, how do we close this off?
Do we talk about how to use them? Do you want us to know how to use them or how to balance them?
Balance would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've gone to someone to get some help.
Yeah.
Links at the bottom.
Yes, you've come to see me.
We're now aware. You've
identified.
What I've known a lot in regards to when you're trying to change yourself, is you get pissed off a lot more. You do. Because now you're noticing what you're doing. You're like, fuck, I'm getting worse. It's true. You're in the car like, oh my god, I'm fucking frustrated. And then you get frustrated.
Or you're getting worse, so you're just noticing it more and more.
So not necessarily. So that's one of the biggest notifications that things are changing. When you start to get more pissed off. That's what I think.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't seem resolved.
Why do I keep doing that? Damn it.
Exactly.
You know?
So don't get frustrated in the process, just believe in the process. Trust and faith rather than, fear and worry. But how do you find that balance? Because I think ego is a very, very good thing. I think it's very, very crippling. You know, in business or in our personal life, ego can drive us, make us, want more and do more and kind of have a bit more pride in what we do, but can also make us very, very a non-student. So I think if you're going to master something, you've got to be a student for their whole life. You've always been learning, So how do you find that balance between the ego, the drive, and actually using that as a positive? Then that flips to just ego. Because there's a line. Same thing when you're being indifferent, you don't really care, especially in sales. It goes from indifference is very confident because you don't care if people buy your product or, and then it turns to I don't give a pretty quickly, right? Yeah. There's a very fine line. So ego would have that same line on the other side.
Yeah, it does. The balance is a tricky part. And usually once people identify them, it takes some time to process it, to kind of accept that about themselves, and you might go back and forward a little bit as well. But then
first of all, it's like grieving. There's a denial.
And then there's accepting
but it's true. You are. And the further you are in your personal development journey, and that's come from a whole range of different things, the faster you can change, right?
Yeah.
Because most people, that's just, first of all, it's denial. Like, that's not me, or that is me. What am I supposed to do? Because that's just who I am. Talk to my dad. I talk to my mum. That's their problem, or my schooling, or my last boyfriend or last girlfriend. That's why I'm at. And then you would go through acceptance, and then that's where change happens.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's also one of the things to be careful about when you are doing it with somebody else is not to tell them what their shadow values are. And that's a tricky thing sometimes, because it might be plain as day to you, like straight away you're like, this might be it. I've done that sometimes in my mind, and then actually dug a bit deeper and like, that's not it. That's something else. But it is also important not to tell them, because as they move through it, they'll get to a point where they're like, oh crap, I'm this. Where they'll realise for themselves, they're like, that's what it is. But that process shows them. It's not just telling them, oh yeah, you're this. It actually moves them through it, and they're like,
Like mathematics. You can give me an answer, or I can work out the formula.
Because and that helps them identify. And I think part of the balance, it's going to help you.
But then it's replicable. And then when you see things, now you have a flow and the process moving.
And this is what happens to me in my life. I notice it becomes a habit now. You know, when I get really annoyed at something or real hurt by somebody. So I'm a girl, so girls want to get hurt by lots of things, but you get hurt by someone something that someone said. And the more I sit there and think, why am I this upset? Because people can't hurt you. how you take what they've said is what hurts you. You know, and so how you perceive what they've said and the meaning you've drawn from what's happened. That's where the hurt comes from. You know, it moves from like a bit blunt, bit offensive to now hurt.
And people can try and hurt you. Doesn't mean you need to accept it. Right? That's the difference.
Yes, exactly. So when I feel that way, once again the emotion, I start to think, why? Why am I doing that? What do I feel like that person took away from me? What do I feel like they're not giving me? And then quite quickly I'm like, all right.
That is one.
Okay. All right.
My flow chart.
And then I'm like, well, maybe that's a more me than a them thing. You know, like they've got their own stuff, and it helps me be so much more empathetic towards people because I'm like, and just kind of understanding, like, you know what, they probably didn't mean that. And you are being a little bit silly.
And even if they did, who cares? No, really. You mean? Because it's probably their problem, not yours. You just created another problem for yourself that you didn't actually need to have.
And so I think being
or
able
they're projecting insecurities of their own selves, and you're taking it as gospel for yourself, and you're like, well, actually, maybe you have a problem, not really.
And I think well,
that's a good start to a stronger mentality.
It is. It absolutely is. And I think that's just being able to be aware of what you're thinking gives you the power to dispute what you're thinking. You know, I had a top psychologist guy in mental health, in depression and anxiety. He was like, anything that you can observe, you cannot be. So he's like, so if I can observe this drink bottle, I'm not the drink bottle. If I can observe you, I'm not you. If I can observe the pen, I'm not the pen. He goes, if you can observe your mind, you are not your mind. You are not your thoughts. If you can step back and observe them. And I think that really gives you some power in controlling what goes on, because your mind is there to protect you, keep you comfortable, keep you safe. That's its job.
We're actually not built for success. We're not. It's so outside. We're just built to survive and not die from the saber-toothed tiger. Do you know what I mean? That anxiety and depression obviously is a pretty hot topic these days, but you know, obviously depression comes from the past, anxiety comes from the future. So when you're depressed and anxious at the same time, not sure where your thought patterns are going, but they're all over the place. So how would you start to control your mind, and what do you do when you have those thoughts come through your mind? Because I was talking to someone now, a 40-something years old, really jealous person of relationships, still single, and I said, you know... Jealous
of other people's relationships?
No, his own relationship and what his partner was going to be doing. Like, are they cheating? Where are they doing? Who are they talking to? I said, that's ridiculous. Like, jealousy is probably the dumbest emotion I find, because it really gives you nothing. You know, envious actually gives you something because you might want a bit more because it's still a nice, you know, emotion. But jealousy is just a dumb emotion, I think. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. It's probably one of the easiest things for people to feel, though. And I think jealousy comes from a place of, I want that, I don't know how to get that. I don't have, because they haven't developed the systems. Or the strategies to be able to get that. If they knew the system, they'd be like, oh cool, well I'll just do that and get that too.
Copy it. Success
the jealousy comes where it's like, how do I get that? I've got no idea how to get that. I've got no strategy to get that.
In relationships, I just think it's a dumb waste. Because if you're going to be thinking, if I'm thinking about you cheating on me or whatever, if you're doing not me thinking about it's not going to help. It's not going to stop, right? So, and then what happens? You get home, and then nothing happened. I'm like, oh, pissed off because you didn't.
And you treat them aggressively, as if they did do something.
Oh my goodness! Like, it's just a waste of emotion. If they're going to do something or not, it doesn't matter if you're going to think about it or not. All you've done is just chew your head up for nothing. So, and then he's basically saying he's saying, oh, I can't. You know, I said, why don't you control that stuff? Because I used to be jealous. I don't know if it's a Scorpio thing or just a male thing. And then I realised that's just a dumb emotion. And then you move past and you're like, what am I worried for? Like, it's just silly. So,
and I think part of what we're talking about today with shadow values too is understanding why am I so worried? What am I feeling? And all of that sort of stuff, and going in and in and in and into it. That's when you're at. That's why I'm feeling worried. Once you know why you are reacting, then you can sit down with your partner and be like, hey, this is exactly why I'm reacting. And your partner, if they love you, would be like, that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. So maybe I can be mindful of this, not just because it pisses you off, but because you're feeling unloved by it or whatever it may be.
Communication is pretty much the key.
Yeah. And how are you supposed to tell people how to treat you if you don't know how you want to be treated or what's going on?
Or why you find that,
Yeah.
I think with the most, we have the most technologically advanced, on the planet, so many ways to communicate. I was talking to a guy today. He's got 76 ways to communicate with him. That's too many ways.
Oh my goodness.
76. How much do you need to remember?
Yeah.
I hate doing that.
It's just noise. It's just white noise, There's too much, and I'm sure that there's probably only one of those 76 ways that actually has human face-to-face where I could touch.
Actually, I don't even think it'd be that. I think it'd be 77. Right? So we've got so many ways to communicate, and yet our communication between each other, horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. Look at, I had a thought, when the iPod came out, people started to put music in the rears of the bus stops. I said, 15 years, it's going to be a silent society. Well, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People walking around their headphones, silence.
You speak to someone, how you going? They're like, I wouldn't even know how to answer that. But
they'll be there talking to people online. And I think that's part of the divide and rift between people these days is that you can have a discussion purely online, not face to face. But if I was sitting with you, if we were face to face, we'd probably be having a very different discussion.
Exactly.
There'd probably be a bit more empathy, there'd be a bit more understanding and feeling rather than just disagreeing online.
The person gets upset, they text you like, wow, has this been happy? Well, I've got to put a smiley face at every...
That's why we girls put so many emojis, so
I always thought that they should have it with colours. Red, angry, blue, happy, green,
we need a system that you can understand how
we need colour-coded text,
Anyway,
if you're listening.
Yeah, so that's a little bit...
I know Apple's listening. Listen.
A little bit. It is. It's a little bit, we get a bit off topic too, but that is with balancing, I guess, and being able to use them, utilising shadow values because that, like you said, the ego side, that may be the side that we try to ignore, our shadow side, but that's got the most drive in it. We will consciously and subconsciously get that and move towards that. So use it. Rather than ignoring it and being ashamed of it, you use it.
Professor in something else.
Exactly. Cool. You figure out all the ways that something you want will then give you that shadow value. So if it's a relationship that you want, then you write down a list all the ways you could possibly get more of that value from getting into a relationship. Watch how quickly you move into a relationship.
And remove that good and bad. It just is, but it can be better.
Yeah, you can. It just is. You can just get it in better ways. Or bad ways, like ways that are detrimental to you or to other people, like it's so many examples. I won't go into all the examples, and some of them are quite offensive to people as well because we don't realise why we do that. We don't have any clue why, I keep eating. We think maybe I want to lose weight. Well, maybe you want to be the centre of attention. And being big gives you attention.
That's right.
And I'm not saying that's not for your viewers. That is not for everybody. But I'm saying there are lots of different reasons why we do stuff.
Absolutely. People get offended at this one. It's like people that try and commit suicide, and it's as horrible as it is because that must be a horrible state to be in your mindset. You think that life is now, no one loves me. No, that's so bad that our society has got so much connection, and yet you feel so ostracized or disconnected or unloved. It's like, wow, that must be really I don't know how that happened to a human being, but that's horrible. But then they try and it's clearly, if you want to, it's pretty easy. Jump off 32nd floor, done. No if, buts, maybes. Even that had a thing in regards to that with, I don't know, I was talking to, was it to you? About they jumped off this Golden Gate Bridge, and they literally had some people that lived, literally as soon as they let go, they're like, fuck.
Damn it.
It's like, damn it. You mean? So, I don't know what we need to wake up, the society needs a bit of a wake up, and just a kind of a bit of a shake up and a wake up, and just go, sort it out, Yeah. Probably my favourite quote ever, Marco Pierre White. If you have a dream, it's your obligation and your responsibility to make sure you do everything you can to have that dream come true.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the most uplifting quotes ever, but no one lives it like that, you know?
Yeah. No, they don't. It's everybody else's obligation to give that to me. Yeah, you know, and it's mental illness is a nasty one and it's a tough one, and anybody that suffers from it, go see somebody.
Exactly.
You know, see somebody. But that's also why I believe leadership and everything, but empathy is so damn important.
Yeah.
Like the things that kids or people say to each other these days is mortifying.
Crazy.
Like it is so mortifying. I'm just like,
whoa.
How does that person feel would take away all of that bitterness, you know?
I just, yeah, exactly. And to project it onto someone else, like, whoa, what happened? Where was the breakdown in communication between role models or family or the family? Like, how did you even think that that's not, like, if you don't, what did your mum say to you? You don't have enough today, don't say anything at all. Yeah. How many times have you heard that? You know? It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Like, it's been drilled into our heads, so we've lost that somehow. But you're right, that's pretty scary when it comes to like bullying at school and, why don't you just go kill you? It's like, whoa, you're 13 years old or 11 years old copying that. Like, that is horrendous.
Exactly. It's no wonder people
that love hate with the rice. Perfect example. The words have so much power, you know. So, cool. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for having us. Thanks for having me. Yes, love it. That was good.
Hope that helps.
That was good.